Bryce Baker, quarterback. Interesting guy in a long list of names that just like I love a lot of the quarterbacks in this class. So why don't you go ahead and introduce us to Bryce Baker?
Yeah, so he is currently QB 13, player 154 in the country, according to the on-screen industry ratings. About 6'4" or 6'2", apologies. 200 pounds, already very well built. He's out of East Forsyth in North Carolina, 16th ranked team nationally, or in North Carolina, sorry, not nationally. But only a 13 SOS, so not that good level of competition. And he is currently committed to North Carolina. So overall, I think his profile is very good. He checks a lot of the boxes that we are looking for. For starters, I mean, he went to the Elite 11. Obviously very good just to even go to the event. But he went there. He performed very well, especially not being a huge name player. Coming in, this was his first season as a starter. He was stuck behind Jalen Raynor, who is now the starting quarterback at Arkansas State. And coming in year one, he did fantastic. Uh, Also, going back to the 11, he was one of the consensus top 11 players. Like every service had him in the top 11. He made the official Elite 11's top 11. So he showed out there. He's an adequate passer already at this stage. 1 year starter, I think, gives him a lot more room to grow as he gets more and more game experience. But even being a 1 year starter, he threw 67% completion, 3,000 yards, almost 10 yards per attempt, 39 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. And then, a capable runner, but nothing to brag about, 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, not somebody you're going to depend on their legs to produce in college, but at least, it's functional movement skills to make plays out of the pocket. On top of that, he has a pretty good physical profile. He's not huge, but 6'2", 200, plenty big enough. We'll probably add another 10, 15 pounds of weight while in college. Pretty good arm, nothing crazy. We have it around 54 ball velocity. Definitely good enough for what we're looking for. Good enough to take him to the NFL eventually. But nothing crazy at the same time. He's a three-sport athlete. He's a very good basketball player, averaging over 15 points per game in the 1,000-point club already. And yeah, so he kind of checks all the boxes there physically too. There really isn't one single area where I'm like I have this big concern. He seems like a dog off the field too. He's got the physical profile. He's production. He's going to a pretty good landing spot in North Carolina where there isn't really that much internal competition. They'll be there once he gets there, and it's a pretty solid offense as well. So I just think there's a lot to like about him and very little negatives. I think he's a pretty safe pick. That offers some NFL value as well.
All right, yeah, pretty nice review there from Matt. Yeah, I just think that QBs in this class just kind of keep stacking up with like a lot of guys I'm pretty interested in. David, whatever you think about Bryce Baker, I know you've mentioned him before in passing almost, but are you in?
Yeah, I mentioned him before the Elite 11. I thought that he would get a top 11 finish there, and he did. I just think he's a well-rounded player, super solid, a heady player. I thought he threw with anticipation multiple times on his film. I thought he actually went through his reads a couple of times, which you don't see with a lot of these guys that we watch. So that's promising. So I think a smart player for sure. Also a 4.2 GPA. I was going to see, hardworking student. He's balancing that between football, basketball, baseball. Just kind of a high performer all around. I think the one thing I'd like to see is that I'd like to see him make maybe stress the defense a little bit more from the pocket as far as and like being planted on the ground and really layering or really putting some big arc on some of those deep balls. I thought some of his deep balls look kind of flat to me. It's like, I guess he generates solid velocity, but I just would like to see some bigger arm, a little more air on those passes. So maybe we'll get that as a senior, as he's sort of, getting more athletic and adding weight and getting bigger and stronger. So that's something I'll be looking for. Maybe some opposite hash throws, mix in some of those, and I'll feel a little more comfortable, especially since I'm a little jaded with the North Carolina because Connor Harrell can't seem to. It sounds like he's not going to win the job with Max Johnson, and I'm just like, so I'm a little tilted right now with UNC. So, but I think he's a solid player all around for sure.
Oh man, you had to bring up Connor Harrell. I was going to do it if you didn't. That's just looking like a huge miss by me and whoever else decided to be on that bandwagon after all. But yeah, big bummer. Doesn't look like he's a guy. Max Johnson, I guess, is a 1-year guy. And then, we're looking at Jacoby Crisbell just transferred in. So I don't know if he's like the guy after Max Johnson maybe, or that was a weird transfer, honestly. And then they didn't really take a big-time QB in the 2024 class. So it does stack up that, if Bryce Baker's a dude, maybe late end of the freshman year, bowl game freshman year, and then going into year 2, as it stands, he would kind of probably be the guy you would expect. So certainly playing time sets up pretty nicely at a place like UNC. You got to like that. That offense looked okay last year, not anything too special. Howell definitely had to step back. Or no, Howell wasn't there. Brain fart. Drake May, a little bit of a step back, but still looked fine. So, you like that offense, I think, at this point, too. So I think it's a good landing spot. I think it's a good situation. As far as the player itself, he didn't blow me away. I think like what everyone's saying here and the vibes I'm getting, the vibes I felt are really good at a lot of stuff. Not necessarily elite at anything, nothing you're getting like out of your seat excited about, but that can play. That can play. So I think he's not in the upper crust tier of this class, but I think he'll be solidly in a second tier or a kind of a big second tier is what's shaping up now to me in this class of guys I'm really comfortable with for one reason or another. Happy to draft on my fantasy team and with a nice path going forward. So I'm not going to stick my neck out for Bryce Baker and be like he's the next guy, but I think he's a good player. Guy I'd like to have on my roster for sure. If you agree or if you disagree, even better, why don't you comment down below? Also, like this video so that we can keep this thing going, raise more awareness about the joy of college fantasy football. Underdog is probably going to be releasing a best ball format. So college fantasy is growing. We're going to give you those freshmen. We're going to give you the guys before they hit the mainstream. Guys like Bryce Baker.